This week is Shabbos Chazain, the Shabbos of vision. And there's a famous parable that I believe it's the Berditchev Rebbe gave to explain what the unique quality is of this Shabbos. He said that a father bought his son a suit. The son didn't know how to take care of the suit. He ruined the suit. He bought his son a second suit. But his son didn't know how to take care of that suit either. So his son ruined the second suit. He bought him a third suit. But he didn't give him the suit, put the suit away in a closet. And every so often, he would show him the suit. The purpose of showing him the suit was in order that his son should want to have the suit and learn how to take care of the suit. And then when it became his nature to be able to know how to take care of it, then the father would be able to give him the suit. Similar way, the B'ditchev Rebbe said, Hashem gave us the first Beis HaMikdash. Hashem gave us the second Beis HaMikdash. And the third Beis HaMikdash is already in heaven. And Hashem shows every Jew on this Shabbos, this third temple. And the purpose of this vision is in order to inspire us to want to be, not just to want, to have the nature of deserving, to have the nature to deserve the coming of Mashiach, that this should be our nature. We should live in sync with the future of the coming Mashiach. That should be our nature today. And thereby we'll be meritorious and able to receive the third Beis HaMikdash. That's the purpose of this revelation of this coming Shabbos. The question is this. This third Beis HaMikdash that we're going to be shown, the Shabbos of Chas V'Shalom Mashiach is delayed and we can't actually see the third Beis HaMikdash. It's a big thing. Okay, we get it. The question number one is, the Jewish people actually had a temple, which they visited, and they saw 10 miracles in the temple every day. And they went on the pilgrimages to this temple, and they saw revelation of Galilus, and it was very impressive, and it was amazing. And despite all of these great revelations, they still made mistakes. They still had problems. So how can we say that we're suddenly going to see the third temple this Shabbos, and it's going to change us so dramatically that we're going to deserve the coming of Mashiach? It's going to be our nature to live with Mashiach so much just because we see the third Beis HaMikdash. How can we say that just seeing the third Beis HaMikdash is going to have such an effect on us when we're when people actually saw the physical Beis HaMikdash, they saw the physical miracles, and it didn't have that effect on them? They still made mistakes, and we're going to see the third Beis HaMikdash, and it's going to have such a major effect on us. How can we say that this is going to be more effective than actually visiting the Beis HaMikdash? You would think visiting the Beis HaMikdash is like the biggest thing, and people actually visited the Beis HaMikdash, and they didn't. They made mistakes, and they caused the destruction of the temple by their mistakes. So us also, if just because we're going to see it, how can we say it's going to change us so much? The purpose of us seeing the third Beis HaMikdash is to make us deserve and to live in sync with that future. How can we say that? So the answer is, the B'ditchev Rebbe uses a word here that answers the question. It doesn't say you see it. It says you're shown the third Beis HaMikdash. By the first and second temple, when you visited the first and second temple, everyone visited it and everyone took something else. Everyone saw something else. Everyone experienced something else. Everyone wasn't able to get the full revelation of the third Beis HaMikdash when they visited the temple, because they had their own perspective. They didn't get the whole thing. What's unique about the Shabbos, says the Rebbe, is Hashem shows it to you. Hashem gives you the whole thing, not just that He gives you according to you, He gives you according to what the reality is. It's a real revelation that is not limited to our perspective. And that's why it had such a dramatic effect, because it's not limited. That's what the B'ditchev Rebbe is telling us, that Hashem is giving us a lot. This Shabbos is a big Shabbos. Hashem gives us a lot. It's not limited to who we are. But he adds another word here, which changes things a little bit. He adds one more word. You'd think, okay, so if Hashem is giving us this great revelation, then we don't need to do anything. In general, Chassidus says that the revelation that Hashem gives us as commensurate to our actions. As revelation, Hashem gives us that He just wants to give us on His own. It's not commensurate to our actions. It's not infinite. It's not limited. So we could just eat kugel and eat chont, and we're doing good. That's what it seems. But he adds another word. He says you're shown the third temple from a distance. What's the extra word from a distance conveying? What is he telling us with that word from a distance? On the surface, the extra word from a distance is meant to convey that we don't actually have the Beis Hamikdash physically. It just we're shown the Beis Hamikdash. But there's a deeper meaning to this. Deeper meaning is that we have to also feel the personal distance we have from that era of the coming Mashiach. To feel that we're not there. And that feeling that we're not there actually makes us there. It brings us there. The feeling distant from it actually brings us closer to the third Beis Hamikdash. When you feel you're far from it, it makes you closer. For example, when Hashem gave us the Torah, it says the Jewish people saw and they trembled. So Chassidus says the fact they trembled, that made them a vessel for that revelation. It wasn't just that they saw, it's that they were affected by what they saw. They felt that this is beyond them. Like it says that when Hashem gave us the Torah, each time Hashem spoke, our souls left our bodies. On the surface, you hear that, you think like, okay, it was so overwhelming, it was so amazing that just our soul left the body. But really, Parshat Neshmasan is part of what we did to experience the revelation. Our souls, we jumped out of ourselves. We reacted to this revelation, and we felt how this is so beyond us. We jumped out of ourselves. It's a little bit hinted in the Mechilta that the idea of the souls leaving our bodies was something that had to do with us, because Mechilta says that we responded to Hashem. Whenever Hashem spoke, we responded to Him. That we responded to Him means that we did something. So when it says our souls jumped out of our bodies, it's not like when it says, like, it uses the same expression I started them when you heard about the passing of Yitzchak, her soul left her body. Here it doesn't just mean that it was a reaction. Here it means that we did something. We jumped out of ourselves. We realized there's something missing in ourselves, and that itself made us a vessel for this great revelation. So comes out there's nothing higher than the Shabbos. But there's still one more question about this parable of the Rebbe. The Rebbe uses a parable of a suit. But what's his analog? What's he trying to talk about? A house. If he's trying to talk about a house, why is he using an analogy of a suit? He should have said a father buys a son a house, buys him a second house. Why is he using an analogy of a suit? So Chassidic gives us an insight to what a house represents and what a suit represents. But we need a little bit of an intro. Every soul power we have has a specific organ in the body that contains it. For example, there are 3 intellectual soul powers, Chacham, Bina, Vadas, and there are actually parts of the brain that are assigned, that are vessels, that are conduits for those different kinds of thought processes. There's one part of our brain which is better at inventing ideas, one part of our brain which is better at understanding ideas, one part of our brain which is better at connecting to an idea. I don't know if scientists have discovered this yet or not, but that's what this says. So each part of the body is a vessel for another kind of soul energy. And so too in heaven, Hashem made a man analogous to himself. So too there are divine revelations, and there are vessels for those revelations. So if the body is not able to hold a certain soul energy, that doesn't mean that energy isn't there in the person. It just means it doesn't have a way to function. So, for example, if a person's deaf, they could still have a child who could hear. Why? Because they have the power in themselves, in their soul, to hear, but the power isn't manifest in their body. The body is in the vessel. There are things that the that the soul could hear that a body cannot hear. And a person's blind, a person that is deaf, they're able to access that kind of thing. But the after 120 years, the soul doesn't see in the body anymore, but it sees spirituality. So even if there's no vessel, we still have these soul powers. It's just they aren't manipulated by the body to function in an earthy way. That means they function in more of a spiritual. But then there's powers of the soul that don't have any specific organ, specific part of the body that contains them. For example, there is the power of desire, power of will. Where is the willpower in the soul, in the body? The truth is, the word power is not, okay, I'm using the word willpower in English, I mean something else than in this context, but the power for will is not really a power. The power of will, that word power means it's something other than the soul. So it's one of the soul's faculties. But the actually desire is not a power of the soul. Desire is the soul itself being drawn to something. It doesn't have any specific organ. Our brain feels what we want. Our brain feels our desire, but our brain isn't really a vessel that houses the desire. That's why when you want to move your hand moves. Your desire isn't in any specific organ, it's everywhere. It envelops the whole person. The hand is affected by desire. It's not a vessel for desire. It's not contained there. There's another soul power, which is also transcendent, which is higher than any specific organ, the power of pleasure. Pleasure is higher than desire. Pleasure is what motivates desire. What do you want? You want what you enjoy. It's a cause for desire. So it says in Chassidus that these two transcendent soul powers, among these two transcendent soul powers, desire is lower than pleasure. Pleasure is higher than desire. Pleasure is called a transcendent soul power, which is distant, and desire is called a soul power, which is transcendent, but it's closer. So, in general, it says that there are 5 names of the soul. It says in the Talmud there are 5 names of the soul. And Chassidus says not that there are 5 names of the soul, but there are 5 different parts of the soul. There are, in these 5 parts of the soul are divided in general 2 categories. There's nefesh, ruach, neshama. There is the power to act and the power to feel and the power to understand, power to obey Hashem and to love Hashem and to understand Hashem's oneness. And then there are 2 higher soul powers, Chai Yechida. And Chassidus says, fascinating, that only a little bit of the soul comes in the body. A little bit of your soul, a little bit of my soul is in the body. The main part of my soul is in heaven. When I say it's in heaven, it's not in heaven, it's not in somewhere else. When the Chassidus says that the soul is in the body, it's not like your phone is in your pocket, your wallet is in your pocket. When Chassidus says the soul is in your body, what it means is that the soul has a connection to your body. The soul has a relationship to the body. The soul is not in America, in France, in Italy. The soul has a connection to your body. It affects your body and is affected by your body. It's bound by this body, has a relationship to the body. When we say the soul is in heaven, what that means is not that the main part of the neshama is not affected by the body. It's not limited to the body. The main part of the neshama, of my neshama, is completely itself attached to Hashem. This is called the Yechida of the neshama, or there are 2 parts which are transcendent, the Chaya and the Yechida. They're both transcendent. One is closer to the body, one's farther from the body. And analogous to these soul powers, these transcendent soul powers, are our clothing and our homes. The first set of soul powers, which are vested with, which have organs that contain them, the mind that contains the neshama, and the heart that contains the ruach, and the body, and the rest of the body which contains the nefesh. Those soul powers are analogous to food, which goes inside the body. Clothing is compared to a more transcendent soul power. You could tell from someone's clothing that a lot about the person. Like Avramo, you are a classy guy. You can tell by your clothing, you're just a classy guy. Just the way you dress, A1. You can tell a lot about the person by the way they dress. But you can tell what size they are, how big they are, how tall they are, how fat they are. But a home has a less of a relationship to the body, and you can't tell um, much about a person's body from their home. So this says that the clothing is representative of a transcendent soul power, which is karev, which is close to the body, and the chaya, and the house represents, and the house is present, and your home is present. Your yechida is present in your home, and your home in general represents a godly revelation, which is more transcendent, a yechida revelation. So if that's true, if our home is analogous to a higher kind of revelation, and our clothing is representative of a lower kind of revelation. So here we're talking about the Beis Hamikdash. It seems we're talking about the highest kind of revelation possible. So why are we using the analogy of a clothing? If we're talking about the greatest revelation, why point to clothing? There is a lower level of revelation. Like the Baal Shem Tov said that it says in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, it says a voice comes out from Mount Sinai and says, do tshuva. And the Baal Shem Tov says that the main part of your soul can hear that voice. And sometimes when the weather between your soul and your body and the weather and your soul in heaven is clear, then your soul in heaven's reaction to that voice in heaven affects your soul and your body. And you also feel thoughts of, I want to do truth. On Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur, on a Yontif, there are times when that connection is greater and it affects you more. Like Shabbos. Want to get the door? Mm. Okay. Mm. Mm. Okay. There's a part of the soul which hears the voices of heaven, and that affects our body. That part of the soul is called mazel. This explains why, on the one hand, 8 o'clock. On the one hand, the Talmud says that there's things that our mazel sees, a part of our soul called mazel sees, and that affects our body, as the Baal Shem Tov says. On the other hand, the Gemara says we don't have mazel. Ein mazli, so Jewish people do not have mazel. Which one is it? So we're talking about zodiac and the constellations and angels that are connected to those constellations. We're not affected by them. But if we're talking about, we're not affected by as our foolish Iranian enemies search. Oh, we're going to attack them on Tisha B'Av. We're not affected by Mazel. They tried to attack us around Pesach time. We're going to see the same. We're going to see the victory of the Jewish people way before their planned attack. That's a show. Anyway, so we're not affected by Mazel. So when it says in the Talmud that the Jewish people do not have Mazel, it's not a contradiction to saying that we have Mazel. As the Gemara says that we're affected by our Mazel. The exact words of the Gemara are Ayin, Ein Mazel Yisrael. There is no Mazel for the Jewish people, which also can be read as Ayin. What is the Mazel of the Jewish people? It is the transcendent light of Hashem, which is called Ayin. Ayin is opposed to Yesh. Ayin means it's not a physical reality. It's not a limited reality. It is a truth of Hashem, which is beyond the physical and the spiritual reality. So that's our Mazel. Our Mazel is Hashem Himself. Hashem Himself is the one who governs everything that happens in our life beyond nature. He is our Mazel. So getting back over here to our question, the Berditchev Rebbe wants to explain what the greatness of the Shabbos, and Chassidus says that your clothing represents a limited, albeit transcendent light of Hashem, versus a home represents the greatest transcendence. So why using the analogy of clothing out of a home? The answer is this. Let's go back to the creation of the first temple for Hashem. Hashem made a lot of rules of how he wants the tabernacle constructed. A lot of measurements had to be taken, very precise measurements throughout the discussion of the tabernacle. And without the precise measurements, just thinking about the actual fact that a physical house could be a home for Hashem doesn't make any sense. Like King Solomon wondered by the inauguration of the first temple in Jerusalem, he said to Hashem, the heavens, the highest of heavens, can't contain you. How could a house contain you? What do you mean a house? You have a house. And not only a house, but it's so precise, all the measurements. What does it mean? So Chassidus explains that every single measurement in the temple was connected to the various divine revelations in heaven. The divine revelations in heaven are represented in every measurement in the temple. There's no measurement which is not connected to something else that's going on in Shemayim. Hey, to us, it looks like you want it 2.5 hours, make it 3, make it 4. What's the difference? That's because we're Neanderthal. We're physical people. We don't see. But the reality is that every single part of the Beis Hamikdash represented something, not represented, it embodied some kind of divine revelation. Now, what's unique about the third Beis Hamikdash is this. Kabbalists know, we know too, but Kabbalists sense this more than Tzaddikim sense this more than we do, for sure. They see trees, and they know these trees are here in this world because of the divine energy in them. And that each tree and each blade of grass mirrors its divine source and is connected to its divine source. But when Mashiach comes, we're going to see how every single thing in the world is divine. We're going to see the divine reality of everything. So that's why the analogy that's used is of clothing, because just like clothing is commensurate to your body, so to Mashiach comes, we'll see how every single creature in the world, the inanimate, the vegetation, the animal, the human, we'll see how it's in sync with the divine core. As the Torah says, "V'nigla kved Hashem," the glory of Hashem will be revealed. V'ro kol basa yachdav, and all flesh will see the word of Hashem. Just the same way we look at physical things today, that's how we will see Mashiach will come. We'll see the divine energy in everything. It's possible to be aware of this today, but the reality is that we don't see it today. But Mashiach comes, we'll see with our eyes. Now, this is the unique quality of the Shabbos. This Shabbos, Hashem gives us a taste of this revelation of the coming Mashiach, not only in the third temple, but the effect the third temple will have in the world. That we'll see the divine energy in everything. That's something Hashem gives us this Shabbos. And the way so we have to think about it and believe in it. Our belief in it itself opens our eyes to this reality. And also feel distant, feel how this is something above us. It's not hard to feel distant from it. We just, you look in the mirror and we know that the revelation of coming Mashiach is something that's way beyond our regular performance of Torah mitzvahs. And we daven today, and we know to ourselves the way we daven, we say a bracha, the way we give tzedakah, the way we learn Torah is not at all the way we will in a second Mashiach comes. Bottom line is that this Shabbos Hashem gives us this revelation, and when Mashiach comes, we're going to know why there's this amount of trees. We're going to understand that this amount of trees, this amount of blades of grass, because it's all connected to His divine source. That's the way it is today. The Shabbos, Hashem, if Mashiach's late Shabbos, Hashem gives us this revelation. The purpose of the revelation, the power of this revelation, is to lift us up, so we can be like you, Avremel. Always get it right. You always get it right, Avremel. Yeah. Always get it right. This Shabbos, that's the power of the Shabbos. Always get it right. All right. Any questions or comments?
It's kind of like if you watch Olympics, you see these girls do these tremendous tricks, spins, tricks, this and that.
Olympics.
What Olympics? They're doing physical activities are just beyond our ability to almost even watch to see all the little details. But to them, their brain is so receptive. It's touch this way, touch that way. They don't even think about it, and it's done. We'd have that kind of insight. It's a core problem. It's the best I can think of.
Beautiful.